Yeah, no, I was going to. You mentioned on the talk about that job, the firearms not turning up. You've got previous firearms experience, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
You was your not DPG. The DPG?
No. I applied for royalty and close protection and had a firearms course because of it.
You went through that though, didn't you? You were on RAS for a little while.
No.
Oh, you weren't?
I applied for it but went through the firearms course.
I thought you were.
So I learned firearms tactics and got me white ticket as they call it, classified on the MP5s and clocks.
Yeah. So what's your take on the firearms role? Because obviously the guys that have given us these t-shirts today, the Take to Fresh guys, they're obviously, I think they're Manchester based. Yeah. Well, they're all over, I think, all up north.
Yeah, they're Manchester.
So, and they're all firearms lads. And obviously we've got Darius who's going through the process for RASP at the minute on our unit, and I know other people who have been in firearms roles throughout the Met. What would you say the sort of the takeaway from that is for the home life? I don't know if you've spoken to anyone regarding sort of mental health and stuff within the firearms.
I've done a few trauma debriefs for them. I'm trauma debrief peer trained, as you know.
I know personally.
I'm Blue Light Champion, which is basically a person who's responsible for promoting good mental health and exactly this, talking therapy effectively.
We're trying to go through the Blue Light Champion
and
process.
also a mental health first aider. And I did it as much, really, because for my own self, because I thought I've got a few issues that have popped up and flashbacks and nighttime terrors and stuff like that just suddenly emerged after 30 odd years.
So how long? What's your give us your stats? How long was you on team for?
I was on team.
Service,
I was on ERP team, emergency response team, in total all my career. So I was on that for 29 years in total. At West Hendon, at Edmonton. I went over to Hertfordshire on secondment. I was with Hertfordshire doing the same thing. I then went to Bermuda where I served as an ARPT officer, which is far more laid back than it is, as you would imagine, far more laid back.
Was that given to you through the Met?
No, I applied for it. I saw it in sort of a police magazine and everybody spoke in canteens about, I know somebody who did that, but no one ever said, I did that. I thought, in for a penny and for a pound, I'll
go. 100%.
That's exactly what I did. And then came back into the Met and came in the Met in 2009 to Edmonton again, which was more look than design, onto ERPT. So all my service has been front end, sharp end policing. Officer safety instructor for many years, so taught lads self-defence, batons, CS, all sorts. Taser officer as I was firearms trained as well, and not to the level that some of the Take to Fresh lads are on, but certainly have an insight into knowledge into self-defence and all that stuff. I mean, so much so that obviously they thought I would make a good bodyguard for the royal family. Whatever got them to that level, I don't know.
I think it was the post action with the taser. This is our guy.
The new James Bond actor's not
Very true.
So 30 years pretty much then?
Pretty much all my service, I mean, it's 35 years now, but pretty much all my service is emergency response, dealing with that, so I feel relatively qualified to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one's going to argue with that.
No. Do you think that's rare now for someone to do 30 years frontline service?
Yeah, I think it would, and I think it's, and you lads are bearing me out on this. They'll do 5 or 6 years on team, maybe whatever, and then go, I've got to specialise, I'm going to leave, I'm going to do something else, or get off because the stuff that they're saying on ERPT and the fact that it's loads of shifts, rest days change, central aid, no real family life. All those issues, all the stuff that we're seeing, and up until recently didn't really get debriefs on, weren't really into mental health first aid, weren't into any of those things, didn't have somebody like me that you could come to as a peer. And let's face it, and I hope so, because I have some people come in, they trust me.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know I ask Del, I know Del doesn't bullshit me. Del will sit down with a cup of tea and we'll have a chat. There's nothing structured about it, but I'm just trusting in the fact that he knows what he's talking about, and the stuff I'm telling about, if he can help us, he will.
You've also got the backing up of it as well, all of the experience, knowledge, you were the only person I ever spoke to in the job about my mental health and the trauma that I went through in that job.
No, you
You're
did.
the only person that I spoke to.
That was very much, I was honoured, and without blowing too much smoke, I really was honoured because, again, you got a great reputation on team, and then the hats that we wear, and we all have, to feel vulnerable enough to speak to me in that manner. Bear in mind how you thought of me when you first met me and thought, no thanks. That's the whole reason why.
Without again returning it, I looked at you and thought, I want to be like that. You were somebody that I looked up to, and I think we're missing that in this job now, because I would join and I'd look at you, Smithy, Nelson, like a few others, and be like, wow, the way that people view them is how I'm going to be viewed. Not want to be, will be.
You say your standards lower than.
That's very much the case though, because when I joined the job, it was Jeff Law. He's a big fucking name in C-Team. He's a big name. You still are today. Like we
thank you, brother.
Being on the fugitive team that we're on now, we travel quite a few places across the Met, just going
and the country as well.
Yeah, and the country. But like we will go down to South West London, and someone will be like, "Okay, that was Jeff Law," and they'll come over and have a conversation for 10 minutes, and it's like I take the piss all the time. Because no matter where we go, someone knows him, and it's just because of the clout that he carries. But that's the clout that he's come into the job, seeing you guys do what you do, and the clout that you guys carry, and he's gone.
It's all been handed down.
Yeah.
It's not. I didn't just come in and just get that. But I
Holland,
feel like my level of service at 12. People like yourself at 6 and 7 is there, but now you said about people leaving team to go and specialise. It used to be that you do like 10 years on team and then you specialise.
Yes.
And then when I joined, it was like you do 6 to 7 years and you probably specialise. There's people now doing 2 years, coming out of probation, and they're like, right, give me my driving, give my taser, I'm specialising.
I've spoken to people that come in here and going, this isn't a career, this is just so I can have this on my CV. They'll pass the 2-year probation and it's like, right, I'm off now to go and work in a bank because I just wanted to have the fact I was a police officer on a CV. And it's like, when I joined this job 5-6 years ago, it was, this is what I want to do, this is the career that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. Nearly lost it at one point, thanks to you. Not thanks to you. You saved me there. Something so small in mine. Nearly got thrown under the bus and Delwell saved me. But again, that was going back to that. That was a huge thing because it was like I can't remember who skippers were at the time. You had who do we have? Tanya Lloyds. Jerry, he was good.
Top
Starkey Chan, obviously.
Yeah.
I can't remember who the governor was. It Cooling at the time was the governor for that division.
Cooling, yeah.
And it was they were sitting there sort of going, who do you want as Fed rep? And I was like, Fed rep? What's a Fed rep? And they were like, alright, we'll give you Dell. And I'm thinking, I know Dell. He used to be on the team. Like, shit, this is gonna go downhill. Like, I'm gonna get out bollocking. He's squeezing.
It's coming.
And then I remember sitting down in the way YB was set out before. And we sat down in what would have been the room around the corner from the skipper's office now, and I remember me and Louis sat down and we started talking to you and you just put it out straight, and it was a moment of, oh fucking hell, this is what I needed, and it was like, Jesus Christ, even though you have that cloud that you carry around and everyone's not scared of you as such, but they sort of look at you and they're like, Dell. Morning, Dell. Do you know what I mean? It's
Sunny baby.
You're not to toot your horn, but that was then a moment of fucking. Oh no, Dell's a fucking decent guy. He's a nice bloke, and I can go and talk to him whenever I need to.
Absolutely.
That carried on, and now whenever I see you knocking about YE, it's always shake your hand and come and chat to you. And not on the level that you two have, where you have a little bro cuddle and
that'll be in 60.
If you're wrong with showing love, mate.
No, absolutely not.
We talk about this a lot. But the 30 year stuff you're talking about, that doesn't exist anymore. You don't do 30. Like I wanted to do 30 years on team.
I had to do 30 years.
Yeah. Because now you don't.
Because of just self-discipline, and it's an honour. I still look down at my chest. Sorry to interrupt you, but I still look down at my chest when I'm wearing a vest and it's got police officer on it. And people might think this is silly. And pride. I get a pride that wells up into my chest even now, and if you catch me on the wrong day, alright day, whichever you want to look at it, I'll have a little cheer in my hand and go, I'm done too badly from a broken home Geordie lad whose father was a wife-beaten alcoholic and who should have gone and been a complete toe rag, and now I've got 13 commendations for bravery and I'm doing alright. I'm doing alright.
Love that.
We should be proud, man. To do that long in a job that's that demanding, you should be proud.
And what you do, so like, once you've come away from your career on team, what you do now with the mental health let's talk about that a bit. 'Cause
Yes.
I love that. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me, what you want to know?
how did you get into it?
How did I get into it? I didn't think there was sufficient help. I'd started experiencing things like I say, night terrors and stuff like that, and wondered where the hell's that got from. Suddenly, almost overnight, and it's ironic this, I developed an overwhelming fear of death. Still got it, which is why I'm going through
Of
counselling.
you dying, you mean?
Me dying, yeah. Which is why I'm going through counselling. I'm on my 4th week of counselling now.
Good for you,
Called
mate. Yeah,
therapy.
well done. No, good, yeah.
Took a lot to get there, but yeah, got there. EMDR they call it.
Yeah.
And it's through the job. It's through the job.
Okay.
I'll say it's through the job. It's through police care.
Good. Yeah.
Took me a long while to get it, and I was a little bit, will this work? But actually, it is working. It is.
Good.
I thought there's not enough out there, and the suicide one of people are like champs. Oh, what's that mean? Well, it's mental health when they first brought it in. Mental health for the police, and you approach people, and more of the fact you're mindful of people, and you know somebody, walking along a corridor and they're normally happy-go-lucky and their head's down and all the rest of it. It's literally just going, "You're right, mate." "Oh yeah, I'm fine," but then thinking, "Well, is he though? Is he?
Yeah, we spoke about that before.
Yeah, is he fine?" He's probably not. So I did that, and that was great, but it was to help myself to recognise things, almost surreptitious really, to recognise within this training, why was I feeling like this? This actually might help me. I'm willing to help other people, of course I am, I want to, but can I help myself first?
Definitely.
And then thought, well, that was a little bit of an insight. And then something else called a mental health first aid course, where people are going through trauma and you recognise it and it's a next step on. That helped me, and I thought, well, that's great. And then after that, there was another one called a peer trauma debriefer, and that was right up my street. That's for incidents that you guys have gone through, and the team's left devastated, and they need more than just a governor talking them through it, literally minutes after it's happened, or an hour after it's happened, and it's literally going through it with a fine-tooth comb, doing this, but I'm watching what you're doing. Because people will bullshit you. People will go, "I'm perfectly fine."
Of course I will.
Yeah, perfectly fine. Because there's still that ethos of, well, I'm not going to show weakness.
That's a stigma, yeah.
Yeah, why would I show weakness? Especially on a team that I'd come from.
100%.
I'm not going to show weakness, but you can't kid a kidder.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll suss this. And there's been a few people go, "I'm perfectly fine, Telly, I'm great." And I go, "Get a cup of tea." Cup of tea, sit down, and try to go, "Don't lie to us, mate." And they're like, "What?" I go, "You're lying to us, man, why? It's only going to hurt you." And then I relate something of myself of what's happened to us.
Yeah.
And I think I did to you, didn't I?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I'll relate something to myself and I go, "This is what happened to me, blah, 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 blah." And it's okay. Then they go, "Yeah, alright, yeah, I'm not alright, blah, blah, blah." And it's about signposting them, not a trained counsellor, not by any stretch, signposting them to the right people if they need that help. Because there's far too many people going, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine," and going and committing suicide.
100%.
Because they can't cope.
Yeah, I completely agree. It
And you
works so
think-
perfectly with our page, mate. That's what we
Massively so,
Yeah.
which is why when I saw it, I went, having obviously spoke to your good self some months ago, a long time
Yeah,
ago,
it was, yeah.
thinking, go on lads,
Just have a
get
go,
in,
yeah.
get in.
Yeah, yeah.
And especially knuckleheads like you three, yeah,
Yeah.
because that's
Spot
the
on.
perception it would be. The
No,
perception
spot
would be that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah, would do.
All about public perception, and it's not meant to be disparaging or insult, not in any way, shape or form.
No, you're right.
Big lump knuckleheads like you lot, if you can talk about your feelings, right, to a big soft Geordie or anybody else like that, then we're getting
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly.
We're getting somewhere.
That's like the Matt's video we just posted of the reel, which says about the stereotypes. People just stereotype immediately without getting to know you.
Absolutely.
And I put you in the same thing. Big lump, big gym guy, you know exactly what you're talking about. Bearded. People don't talk to us and
No, they
don't
don't.
think that we're going to talk.
No, they
But
don't.
I actually found it easier to talk to you. I mean, it helped that I knew you for years anyway, but I would have still felt comfortable to speak to you because I can see myself in you. I can relate. I
Yes.
can relate to you in that
Yes.
way. Do you think that helps
I think it
get
does.
people to speak to you more? Because
Yeah, and I, rather than somebody that would come in and just has no idea of the culture, has no
Yeah.
idea what we see, and what we do, and what we experience.
definitely.
And when they couldn't relate something that's personal about them to blend with them and say, "I know what you're feeling because I've had this happen to me."
Yeah.
At which point you go, "Okay, yeah, he does actually understand." Whereas anything other than that, people would be like, "I'm not talking to you because you're not one of us."
That's
And
a
we've
big
got
thing.
that. You're not one of us.
That's a big thing you touch on there with therapy. Because with my therapist, I didn't want to go to somebody that wouldn't have a single clue about I don't want to spend 2 sessions paying a lot of money explaining what it is to be a copper. Well, I don't know about the same with the fire service. Like, trying to explain to somebody the different things you go through, and then the therapy will be like, okay, yeah, okay. I'm just like, nah, it needs to be somebody that I can sit down with and go, okay, I've been in that scenario, and I've dealt with that scenario, and I understand where you're coming from. I think that makes a big difference.
Massively so.
Like my therapist I use now, shout out to her, she's a good girl. She works with like in the hospitals and like with children.
Yes.
But like, so anything sudden death with babies was something that haunted me for a long time. She would be able to understand it, and that then you build that bond that you need.
You do, absolutely you do.
So,
same with my therapist. She does a lot of NHS nurses who went through COVID.
That's right.
Because the whole of the COVID just all of a sudden it hit, as you know, and the trauma those people went through, watching people suffocating to death on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And when we saw that, obviously we got sent to, people didn't realise that because the media kept it hidden, that the police were dealing with all these sudden deaths in the community, and we were having to do, and I'm not going into detail, we were having to do some horrendous things, some horrendous, we all know what we're talking about here when we turn up to this location and make sure that how they've passed, etc. In full gear that we didn't have the right stuff to wear to start with. I popped down to B&Q and get myself a DIY thing and a little breathing thing. Not good enough. I'm popping along and the people's families are there and they've still got COVID and it's rife and you're touching sudden deaths, and he apparently died 3. I'm going there again, aren't I? See how you just flick into it?
Yeah. No, you're right.
He died 4 hours earlier, but he touched his body with gloves on, of course. And it's almost like he's been put next to an electric fire for the last 20 minutes because he's boiling.
Yeah.
Because the virus is still inside of him, even though he's gone, and he's burning him up like he's been in a sauna. And you literally go, oh, I was with Lauren that time.
Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry, I've dealt with too many of these this week. I'm going to have to leave you to deal with this. I'm going to freak out. I don't want to do this in front of the family.
Of course.
And I'm not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
and we all know I'm not doing it. And I walked out and I said, I'm sorry, on this occasion, I just need to take a bit of personal time out. And off I went. So my counsellor is experienced in that, and coppers.
Yeah.
And she says to win kudos, I guess, I deal with police officers, I deal with trauma, I deal with this, I deal with that, I deal with that. And she's winning my trust now. It's very good. And when I become upset, which is, you don't expect it to happen, don't just be the same with you. She said you might want to get some tissues down before we start this session. I go, what are tissues for?
Yeah.
So just get some tissues, you might need them. I went, I've not got a snotty nose, what do I want tissues for? She said, well, I'm going to touch upon subjects that may be painful to you psychologically. I went, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Double hard, me, I don't need that. Get some tissues. And I kid you not, within the next minute, she's right, blah, I went, start crying. That thing that wells up your stomach, solid lump, that just weight goes over you and you think, where the hell did that come from? And you then start getting worse and sobbing and you think, how does that stop? And that is constantly there. It's not that far, it's literally beyond your fingertips in happening, and all it takes is something to trigger it. Counselling's painful, it's really strange. I'd rather not do it, but you're probably the same as me, and we probably all are. In my mind, I have got, do you remember the old post offices that had the little postal things where you'd probably see them on the telly, where all the post used to come in, they get the letters and put them in little slots.
Yeah,
and there's hundreds of them. Hundreds of them.
Yeah.
In my head, throughout all the years, all I've got in my head is all those post boxes, and every incident that I dealt with, I go on and go, right, this is horrendous, we'll get on with it, boom, 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 post box. And you just keep going, and it's stored, it's never dealt with, it's always there. And I went through hundreds, possibly thousands of incidents like that where that all got put in there. This is before I realised. Nothing happened to me, I was perfectly alright, I was mentally resilient, I continue to be mentally resilient until my mum passed. And when my mum passed, the floodgates were opened, and it's almost like all those post boxes were pushed and everything just fell out in my lap in one go. And I went, wow, where's that come from? I can't deal with that. No. So now my counsellor, therapist, is explaining to me why that's happened, how your brain formats things, how your emotions format things, and reprogramming it.
100%.
And do you know what? I thought, this ain't going to work. It's working.
Brilliant.
It's working. I can bring up memories now that were painful before that now do not have that emotional response within us.
Brilliant. So important.
Isn't it just the fact that you were open to it? to allowing yourself to even go to counselling and therapy, for that to happen is massive, isn't it? Particularly for like what these guys are saying, what your reputation was in the job and still is back then, to now being a guy that is the mental health first aid and blue champion. That seems like that's a far distance to travel from the person you used to be to the person you are now.
Yes.
I'm not going to say obviously you wouldn't regret anything there. I'll never say that. But do you think, in terms of how you approach people in the job now, what do you think about how things used to be, like in terms of how the job's set up now for people to cope, like these boys having people to go to and wanting to be those people themselves that their teammates can come to?
I think it's awesome.
What you used to have to do.
Very good question, and I think it's awesome because we progressed, but I don't want it to just be lip service, and I think we all think that. It's progressed massively. For it to be an environment and a culture now where I can actually come out and speak about it means that we've progressed massively.
Yeah.
Massively. And I think it's good that the public know this as well.
100%.
Because, as we discussed this in a corridor the other day at the Nick, the public seems to be not obsessed but very interested in police programmes. Rush 999 calls here and we're now live with the police and the fire service and blah blah blah, and we're going to this call, we're going to that call, and they're fascinated by it. Of course it's highly edited, of course, but they're seeing these, not necessarily, it's sanitised for them because you can't show the traumatic events that really go on, can you? You can show something that's a frisson of excitement and someone's getting nicked and put in handcuffs, but you can't show the legs that are hanging off, you can't show the gang member that somebody tried to decapitate in the street and last knockings on an early turn, and you turn up and he's like the Walking Dead, you save his life. You can't show that. You can't show the children that have died, rightly so. You can't show that somebody's been knocked over by a transit van, that 5-year-old in the dire arms. You can't show any of those things, but they're fascinated with this. They're not fascinated with the individuals such as ourselves and how we cope. Because we're not extraordinary individuals. We are normal human beings who just have to, for some reason, get through and get by. Could anybody do our jobs? No, not anybody could do our jobs. It takes a certain type of person.
I agree.
Definitely. Yeah, those people that are watching those shows, like 24 Hours in Police Custody is probably the most popular one nowadays, isn't it? And that generally shows the behind the scene work more than the actual,
that's definitely the best one.
Rather than the policing actually happening, and then like you said, the aftermath of what's happening to those police officers that actually dealt with the scenario. It's more like in the offices, the investigation, and that stuff going on, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think there probably is a disconnect between the general public and viewing the police as humans. Rather than as just like I don't even know what the word would be, but it's like a number of a person that's going to turn up and do something, like a robot that's going to turn up and do that job. They're sort of almost viewed like that. And I found that quite interesting about the Haynock job the other day. They actually released the Ring doorbell footage of the taser, and that is like seeing that and the general public watching that, thinking, fucking hell, those guys had to go up and approach that guy.
Could you do it?
He was basically carrying a sword.
That's what I ask people, could you do it?
Exactly, could you do that and approach that guy? And I think that, well, if people, the general public knew that is what was going on at every incident, not as necessarily extreme to that day to day,
but
it's probably you're going to get a lot more respect from the general public. We put everyone safe.
We put that post up on our page that was really well liked. People got behind it, and the person that sent it in was right. That is not an uncommon thing.
Not
yes, the young lad getting murdered was horrendous.
Tragic.
But had that little boy not been murdered, that job would never have made
would have been one of many
paper.
Never
have made it.
You look, 2 weeks prior, a week prior with the incident.
Matt got stabbed.
Matt's been stabbed. You hear about all the time. The officer, I'd say recently, but it wasn't recently, they had the firearm pointed at him, and he's just ran at the geezer and tackled him to the floor in central London. This shit happens far too often. And
we could all name scenarios, more the police inside, but we could all name scenarios where I've had to point a taser at somebody and put them down the same way that those Hainault guys did. Doesn't get, not that it should do, because this is day-to-day policing, but this is happening more and more and more, and it's not going to get any better.
No, it's not. It's not.
I don't want to get too political with it, but
no.
There's a lot that should be getting done about it that's not getting done about it. But
what's the biggest changes that you've seen in Dell? We spoke about it earlier, from when you started to some of your last days on response team.
What, in terms of culture, or in terms
thinking just the biggest things that you've noticed changing, like the public or the technology or the culture.
Lack of experience has changed on team, or especially emergency response team. There seems to be one or two that are experienced on team, and the rest are very inexperienced.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's because of the natural wastage where people are turning up and doing 2 years and specialising and going off and just thinking, this ain't for me. I mean, who wants to be amongst the muck and bullets all the time? You don't. You want a Gucci job, don't you?
Yeah.
I feel like I am one of those. I've done 4.5, 5 years on team, and then have left to come to the fugitive team, which I'm now APS on and have done for a year tomorrow. But yeah, no, I think I was very much in the same boat when I first joined it. Is you need to sit and do 5. You need to learn the bread and butter. You need to get the nitty gritty done, do it all, and then move.
Yeah.
Like, I think team does have a shelf life. Like, I take my hat off to you guys that have done it for how many years? Did you say 29 years. And
I'm not going close to it now. Yeah.
I take my hat off to you guys for doing it for that long. It's a fucking tough gig.
Yeah, probably more so now than it has been though, to be fair. I mean, that's something that's changed. Well, violence has got worse.
Yeah.
Since 87, I mean, yeah, we had violence then, of course we did. But in recent years, did you have as much gun and knife crime? No, you didn't, because you didn't really have gangs then. Had the odd gang, we had gangs that were called the Craze.
Yeah.
But you didn't have the gangs that you've got now over postcode wars and people will stab you over an argument or literally because you're in the wrong area, or the retribution that they give each other for gangs, or there's the collateral damage that goes on there. You don't have that. That's changed massively. Society's become far more violent, and we've I guess we've had to change with it, but not to a greater extent. I still think we're ill-equipped.
I agree.
I still think we're very ill-equipped.
Yeah, so we're saying about changes. Obviously, we've all been public order trained at some point. I still am. The movements that happen nowadays, the protests that are becoming more prevalent in London, was that a thing back in the day?
Yeah, I was on the poll tax riots when it kicked off many years ago. In fact, you know, when you see the library footage of the guys in tunics with their hats and just with our sticks out, that was my serial. I was there. So
Nice.
yeah, so yeah, it has changed. I think people are more readily. I'm going to say, you can edit this if you want. I'm going to say that people catch the woke virus in this day and age, and everybody's woke these days, aren't they? Rather than just calling it like it is, everybody's woke. So demonstrations are a great thing. You go out and you get write a speech and all the rest of it. Of course we have, but I think people are more readily wanting to demonstrate, and there's more of a rent-a-mobs mentality as well. Far more of a rent-a-mobs. People having there may be people who are doing peaceful protests, but there's always going to be somebody in the back of that goes, this is an ideal opportunity to kick this off.
It's easy to do as well, isn't it?
Very easy. An ideal opportunity. So it's not necessarily people who are protesting, it's the people behind it. Because they want to rail against the authority, whoever it is, just for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair
So
point.
yeah, that has changed. I gave my ticket in many years ago because I got fed up with sitting on a carrier with it all kicking off and I was saying, send us in, deploy us, and they said, no, we're not doing it. Because in those days, I'm talking 20 odd years ago, so not the incumbent authority now, they were very reticent to do anything about it.
Because it's a conversation that I've had with my old man quite recently actually, where he's used to the days where I used to sort of get down and dirty with the public order, and we'd be going in full level 2 kit, helmets on, getting in there, getting stuck in, and he sort of says to me, like, nowadays it seems like you're Girl Scouts that are selling cookies, let's call it. They'd send in a serial or two of fully kitted level 2 for that, when you've got people kicking off in central London that aren't kitted up now. You've got level 2 officers that are going into central London where it is kicking off, where it is likely to kick off, and no one's kitted up for it. It seems like it's been done a complete wrong way, but I mean, again, we're probably thinking a little too political here, but...
No, I think it's whichever commander's in charge at the time, isn't it?
Because you wouldn't have had that back in the day, I take it. Was it always full kit level 2?
Full kit level 2, so you either sat in a carrier doing nothing, playing cards, or you were fully kitted up and out.
Those days are long gone.
There's the two, there's no in between.
Yeah. Do you guys don't have any sort of public order?
No, I don't. When obviously you guys use some of this terminology, obviously I'm not upfront with something. So the public order would be for you.
So you know the guys at the border suits you see with the big NATOs on, the big helmets on.
Right, okay.
Riot gear essentially.
The only thing that we have that is similar is we do have like MTA gear, like Memorial and Terrorist incidents that we can go to now, where we do carry like ballistic vests, helmets, and goggles on if we were to have a call to something that did end up being like an attack of some sort. But the ones that have happened where the brigade have been involved, it's been the ones involving vehicles, when they've used the vehicle as to drive into something. Fire brigade get called and it's a car, or they get called to an RTC, and then all of a sudden you turn it up to something that's you think is that's just easy bread and butter, and all of a sudden you're right in the middle. Like a terrorist incident, like the one on the bridge, for example. For example, the crews turned up to that, and they're like, when they realise what it actually is, it's like, we're right in the middle of this. And that was before they brought in all this gear, and obviously since then we've had additional training, and then now the trucks carry these. So I suppose we can be sort of called on to those incidences more. But that's obviously different to you guys, but
still vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly. I think more so when you're getting called on to stuff that when you don't know what it is. That's the thing, because it can come through as incidents like we're just turning up to an RTC, car into building. Okay, we're thinking maybe signs of collapse, maybe some injuries, things like that, and then all of a sudden you could be terrorist incident. Makes you think a little bit differently about how simple something could be on the printer.
The debrief stuff that you do for the police, do you do that for any other services, or is it just...
No, it's just for the police at the moment. Do they have similar in your service? You have sort of trauma debriefers, peer trauma debriefers?
No, not by that name. So after incidents that we have where there'd be something traumatic that could have happened, everyone at that incident will get flagged up for a phone call, and it'll get put on like the IMS, incident management system, that this has happened and people should be contacted to see if they need therapy or counselling or anything like that for what they might have seen. So that exists. Mental health first aid exists as well, so we've got those that are going out to all stations.
Your book that you've got over there.
Yes, I brought that on over today. I've signed up to try and get one of those courses as well, just to help. Again, that's for myself, my family and colleagues. Like, you just want to know, be more aware exactly how you were saying.
Exactly,
good point.
Which is good, like a big addition, I think, for us to signpost and then direct people in the right way, where they should go.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing we're all doing now. You're doing that course. We're on a course for Blue Light Champions to become it as well.
So we are. Scott McIntosh about the mental health first aid at work stuff as well.
We're not just talking the talk either. We're actually walking it ourselves.
Absolutely. And knowledge is power. Well, as they say, knowledge is power. The application of knowledge is power.
So last little bit then, Dale. What would you give, like, advice-wise to, if there's your young Del in front of you, like that Del Boyd at 87 or whatever it was, when you first joined, what advice would you give to him, knowing what you know now? Is there anything you tell him?
Or based upon today's culture or 87 culture?
I think knowing what you know now, like you said, about the application of knowledge, what would you give? What application of knowledge would you give to yourself?
I'd say don't take everything too seriously. You're going to come across a load of stuff that you probably never imagined would ever happen to you. You're going to see stuff that you could possibly never imagine, but you'll get through it. You'll be resilient enough, you'll get through it. 100%. And in today's day and age, you've got colleagues you can talk to. Don't keep it to yourself. Last thing you should do is keep it to yourself. Don't stick it in them little post boxes that I mentioned earlier. Speak to your colleagues. Have a cup of tea after the incidents that's affected you, and go, do you know what, that affected me, lads, that affected me. And if your team isn't such that you can do that, I suggest you're in the wrong place.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that. That's very true.
That is good. It's a lot if you can come back from a shout and be like, that was a bit of shit, wasn't it? Actually, you could actually just be even just admitting that was a bit of a shit one today, like, rather than everyone just keeping going, oh no, I'm cool, it's fine.
This is why we say blokes need to talk. Like, it's time to talk for blokes, because females, girls in general, they will come back from a grief you call, a shit call, and go, and they'll have their moment in the writing room, like, and they'll do their thing, but blokes don't feel like we can do that.
No,
we sit down in the corner, get on with the paperwork, keep our heads down, have a bit of dark humour about it, and get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah. We had that funny scenario recently. We were on aid, weren't we? And like, me and Ali were in the front of the car in the election, driving around. And we got Stacey and Abby. Shout out to them two, like, in the back. And they spent the whole aid just talking, catching up, talking about, and then it goes back to what we were saying about how, like, we'll chill for 3 hours and then go back and the partners will go, how's Matt? And you'd be like, it's alright, talk about him. And then we sort of said, we're gonna do better than that. And me and Ali were in the front, just sort of relaxing, like, just talking about, what we training in the gym later? Yeah, alright, cool, alright. Are you eating today? Yeah, alright, we had some chicken. And then meanwhile, Abby and Stacey are in the back, like, talking about what holidays are going to go on in 3 years and what their husbands are up to. And I was like, we need to take a little note out of these girls' books because they are so much better.
And I think that's so much that they're good at it.
So much
they
better.
do it naturally.
So much
it's
better.
inbuilt into them, isn't it? Absolutely. My wife's the same. My wife can talk for England, but would she suffer from as much psychological issues as I have? Probably not. Probably not.